Hello, everybody. I hope everyone's doing awesome on this Friday afternoon. And again, hello and welcome to Rewind, the retro video game show, coming to you live every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, right here on the AWS for Games channels on YouTube and Twitch. I know I say this every time we go in, but please make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and alert buttons if you like the content we're creating here, and make sure that you get alerted to when we put new content out. So my name is Chris Melissinos. Oh, and I appreciate you doing that for us. My name is Chris Melissinos. I'm the principal evangelist for video games here at AWS. And on this episode of Rewind, I'm going to be exploring the console that ignited the very first console war, Mattel Electronics Intellivision. I'm also coming back after a week of being kind of under the weather, which is why we did a repeat last week. And catching up, I decided that, look, we got a lot of games to go through for the Intellivision. It was a pretty awesome platform with a lot of amazing games. And so rather than walk through, run down the specs, I'm just going to jump straight over to the 8-bit living room. And we'll talk about the Intellivision's history, the tech specs, what the world was like back then, and a whole lot more. So we're going to make our way over right now. Let's jump over to the 8-bit living room and engage in some intelligent television. Here we go. All right. So here we are. What's the weather today? Oh, the weather today is... Our building is moving, apparently. So, all right. So, again, we're going to be leaning into the Mattel Intellivision, right? The intelligent television video game systems. So those are the first system that came out that really gave the Atari 2600 a run for its money. We had other systems that came out during that era too, like the Magnavox Odyssey 2, Fairchild Channel F, a variety of different consoles. But the Intellivision, really from its technology, from the game selection, from the marketing push, and the brand Mattel, meant that this was truly the first formidable competitor to the incumbent at the time, which was Atari. And so we're going to go and lean into their games today. Oh, why is my logo out of position here? Let's go ahead and move that up on my table, and let's go ahead and squeeze it down a little bit to make it fit in there. Look at that, the magic of OBS and letting us do that right as we are as we are live. So what I like to do whenever we're doing one of these kind of game retrospective or console retrospective things is let's go ahead and pull up some videos. So this will be a looping video of Intellivision commercials from back in the era, and a looping video of the show Icons, which used to be on G4, the now defunct G4 TV, and it happens to be with the creators of the Intellivision. So why you're not going to be able to hear their audio as, they pop up the screen there. Old friends of mine will go ahead and highlight what they are, what they're doing and what they're talking about. So let's go ahead and jump right into the very first game. So back when the Intellivision first launched, we didn't have one, right? So there was one kid in our neighborhood that had one, and we were absolutely amazed by it because the graphics were just different than what we had on the Atari 2600. It had this crazy ass control. Let's go ahead and bring that system up. Oh, there's my little Intellivision right there. It had these controllers that had basically, a keypad on it. So we were like, what is this thing going to be about? And then you could take, of course, the overlays and put them in there, and that way you could go ahead and get additional commands for more advanced gameplay than we could on the Atari 2600. And that's what those were used for. So, let's go ahead and fire up the first game that I really remember playing. And let me go through my catalog here, and we'll go ahead and find that out. If you have any games that you liked, right, that you grew up playing, make sure you go ahead and let me know in chat. What do you remember about the Intellivision? Which were the ones, the games that you grew up playing, all that good stuff. And we'll go ahead and see if we have them. We can go ahead and fire them up. So let me see. Which should be the first one that we're going to get into? Actually, I'm going to take that back. I'm not going to go ahead and start with the first game. I'm going to start with one of the ones that were most memorable for me playing. And let me see if I can find that here. And of course, we do have some discussion around the voice command module for the Intellivision, and we're going to talk about all of that crazy stuff. Actually, yeah, we'll go and jump into one of the earlier games, and this, of course, is Astro Smash for the Mattel Intellivision. Now, so what wound up happening was Atari really had locked up a lot of licensing around arcade games, and so what you had when Mattel released the Intellivision were kind of games that resembled those arcade games that you played, but were slightly different, right? So this is kind of a, it's obviously not an Asteroids clone, but Astro Smash is kind of Space Invaders with a little Asteroids theme. Let's go ahead and jump into it. So the goal here is to go ahead and fire all of your, or remove basically all of these meteors that are falling down here to the planet. And they break apart like you would normally see in asteroids, right? The largers break into smaller bits. But the trick here is that each one that passes by the bottom of the screen reduces your points. And so you don't want to let them go past the bottom of the screen. So right now, let's see. I'll let one of them drop here. And so you'll see that I will, or get killed there. And so this one was really, you're constantly fighting the game, right? You're fighting to go ahead and keep your score up while also avoiding the falling debris and all that other stuff, right? So it's it was just a different twist on the shooting rocks and Space Invaders type of game that we were used to seeing on the Atari 2600. Now, what you'll also notice too is that the graphics are higher resolution, right? So they were able to go ahead and create more detailed characters on the screen, and they were able to get more of them on there without any flickering. I think it was 8 sprites per scan line that they could get on there, and more color, right? So, okay, here we are now in the next level here. The sound also was more advanced than was available on the Atari 2600, which also meant that you could have background music playing in some games. We're going to talk a bit about some of the expansion modules for the Intellivision. The one that really came out that people knew about was the IntelliVoice, right, which allowed certain games to have voice or dialogue, just small samples. But then there were things like the Aquarius computer add-on and these sorts of things. Then, of course, the revisions, right? So while Atari had the Atari Junior, Intellivision had the Intellivision 2. Then there was the Intellivision 3, which was just a rebranding. Then there was Intev. We'll talk a bit about M Network games and all those sorts of stuff. But yeah, so this was one of the first games I remember playing at a friend's house on the Intellivision. And, quite a serviceable game. This one was popular enough that when you see a lot of kind of like retro shirts, yeah, that one you don't want to have hit. When you see a lot of retro shirts and things like that, Intellivision is one of those games that pops up pretty often, right? It's very distinct looking. The character or the ship that you pilot, again, distinct looking. The play field was just different than what we had seen before. I think it's the only asteroid crashing to Earth game that I can really think of from that era. Man, look at that. I am doing all right there. Yeah, so this was Astro Smash. And, you can imagine, what it was like hooking this up to your TV back in the day and experiencing those colors and all that good stuff. But, yeah, Astro Smash, everybody. Yeah. What do you think, kids? Yay! Yeah, Astro Smash, that's pretty good. Quite challenging, too, right? Here we go. I think everything is worth 3 times now, right? The value, isn't that what it is? Or it's the 3rd level, one or the other. So again, I did not own an Intellivision back in the day. We were an Atari household and saved up actually for a refurbished Atari. This one, I believe when it came out in 1979, it was $275 in 1979. So really a very expensive endeavor if you were going to go ahead and get an Intellivision there in the house. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to another game. So one of the most popular and recognizable games on, let's see, boom. Okay, yeah, that homing missile went ahead and took me straight out. Yeah, listen to that. Let me turn the volume of that game down a little bit. All right, there we go. There we go. All right, so that is Astro Smash. All right, let's go ahead and jump on to another popular game that that came out there. Now, the games I really do remember playing, we're not really going to be able to dig into them because they just take a long time to play. And those are the Dungeons and Dragons games. And we'll talk about them, though. But the next one that I want to bring up here, of course, this will look very familiar, or a similar type of game, right? Space Armada. So let's see. We are going to do game, and then we have to press enter to start. So what does this remind you of? Right, so they didn't get the license for Space Invaders, but you could not launch a game system in this era without having a Space Invader clone in there. Now, what I would say is, okay, your ship obviously doesn't look like the original Space Invader ship, but you do have a couple of invaders there that closely resemble, or I would say are inspired by, the original Space Invader Squiddies, including the bonus ship at the top. But what you'll notice here, right, is that you had color on this, right, where original Space Invaders didn't. Yeah, and a little more enhanced sounds. You had discrete sound for a lot of these, for the invaders and the ship and your ammunition and their ammunition and all that stuff, right? But again, if you didn't have an Atari, and to be fair, the Atari 2600 didn't look like the arcade either, right? It mimicked the gameplay, but certainly the enemies had nothing to do with the original version. Now, what I don't like here is notice how they're kind of being drawn over the shields. Like, one of the things that Space Invaders did was, when the enemies got low enough, it would just remove your shields entirely, right? Creating a real sense of dread. Now they're shooting more bullets here and getting rid of your shields. So yeah, Space Armada, a very capable clone of one of the most popular games in the era in which the Intellivision was released, right? So there we go. That was Space Armada. All right. And we're going to be ripping through these quickly because there is a lot to get through. Okay, here we go. This was another one of my favorite games of the era. And this was, listen to the music there. Yeah, very different than what we experienced on the Atari 2600, right? So this, again, was one of my favorites in this era. And we're going to go ahead and move over to start. All right, so here we go. And all right. So now the goal of this game is to basically take out the Imperial Walkers on the ice planet Hoth. And all right, so they're shooting a missile at you there. So what you want to do is fire enough at the AT-ATs to take them down, or they'll open up a little kind of like exhaust port that you'll be able to. There it is. Let's see if I can get in there. Oh, and if you can fire right into that exhaust port, it'll instantly go ahead and take them down. Now, what I will say for this game is that this does not play as fluidly as the Atari 2600 version does. It is a little bit jittery, but one of the things that the Intellivision could do that the Atari had difficulty doing is they could do per pixel scrolling on the screen. And that was something that the Atari 2600 just could not do, or really do effectively. Come on, get in there. Can you do it? Let's see, come on. Just hit one. Okay. Oh yeah, see, that's something else that I didn't realize is happening here that didn't happen with the 2600 version, is that you can only have one missile fired at any given time. So if I fire a separate missile, well, that means they're getting close. If I fire a separate missile, it will cancel out the one that's on screen. Yeah, come on, can I get in there? And I don't believe this one had a tow cable to it. Nope. So again, this was, we were experimenting with different gameplay types. Come on. Oh, see, I had it. We had different gameplay types and different themes, and of course, trying to go ahead and mix a bunch of different genres or IP across different mediums into gameplay. Star Wars on Intellivision. Okay, come on. Oh, look at that. Now, when I finally did get an Intellivision as a kid, we picked up the Intellivision 2. And the Intellivision 2 was a cost-reduced model of the original Intellivision, so it was smaller in size, but it wasn't compatible with every game, and it certainly wasn't compatible with any of the add-ons, right? So there were some issues with it. But, this was during the video game crash, really, in the early 80s, when I experienced it. So I was able to go ahead and pick up a bunch of games for, $3 and $5 from like discount stores as a kid. And as a kid with limited funds and, paper route money, that was great for me. So I got to sample a lot of Intellivision games, in a very short period of time. But again, this was one of my favorites as well. Just a lot of fun. And there's a version of this called Attack of the Mutant Camels that was done by the incredible Jeff Minter, and that was on the Commodore 64. And it was basically this game, but changing the AT-ATs into llamas, which is what Jeff likes to do. So, okay, there we go. So that was Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back. Let's see. Let's go to one of the most popular games of the era, and that would be, well, I don't want to give it away, so let me get over to it first. That would be this game. No, not pinball. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. Pinball was popular, but not that popular. I meant this game, Pitfall, right? Isn't that right? So David Crane's Pitfall came over to the Intellivision, and was really cool about the game was, I know I say it was cool about it. It just resembled the Atari 2600 one. So there wasn't, this was a game of equivalence, right? So now you had your friends that owned an Intellivision, and everybody's kind of playing the same game, right? Okay, there we go. Oh, that's really interesting. So the Intellivision has a jump and then a release button. A little bit different tonally, right? But, Intellivision players were able to get a hold of Pitfall, which, at the time we thought was exclusive, right, to the Atari 2600. Yeah, that's eyeball jumping. Oh, right on his mouth. That's terrible. All right, let's go ahead and try that one more time. Let's see if we can at least get a little further than that. Okay, there we go. We cleared it, and now we're back in. Now, you could go backwards. Oh, and then still die anyway, so it doesn't matter, right? So, okay, but now I'm on the other side of this, and let me grab that. We'll get off the vine there. Oh, look at that run. That was good. Jump on that and swing on down. Now, one of the things we are going to dig into, the stuff that it probably is most accessible for most people, are the arcade conversions. So while I said, Mattel didn't have the same level of access, right, or licensed content as Atari did. We're going to do one more run here, and maybe I shouldn't fall down the stairs there. They did have some notable arcade ports. And so we're going to go play through some of those. I hate that. I mean, it's a good mechanic, but I just hate the fact that it happens. Okay, let's get on over here and jump down. All right. At least let's just get one treasure, for goodness sake. Here we go. All right. Alligator head. Alligator head. All right, we got one more. Oh, damn. Very difficult to do, for goodness sake. Okay, here we go. Come on, let's go. 1, 2. All right. Goodness gracious. And then getting hit immediately by the logs. So let's go ahead and get our head poked up out of here. Man, that is a tough one. Okay, that should be the next screen, I think. Let's see. Yep, there we go. And you got to make sure that you jump because you'll do it. And there we go. That is the one that everybody knows. Isn't that right? That is the Pitfall Cheer. And of course, I died again. So anyway, so that was Pitfall. Like once again, Intellivision kids were able to go ahead and start playing that classic game on their Intellivision at home. I'm going to go ahead and put a little music on here in the background. And let's make sure we keep that nice and low. But now we've got a little music playing in the background while we're experiencing some more of the Intellivision. Intelligent television. So when this system released, there was a big marketing campaign. It was the spokesperson for Intellivision was a sports reporter named George Plimpton, and he was sophisticated, and he's like the Intellivision is clearly the superior choice, I believe, or something like that was the catchphrase that he had, and it kind of leaned into do you want to play with, a kid's toy, or do you want to play these sophisticated games on the Intellivision, which is for the intelligent and the discerning game player, which, okay, I guess that kind of worked. But yeah, so when it released, it was received pretty well by people that had enough disposable income to be able to afford to buy this system at the time. Now, the lifespan of the machine actually, even though we had the game industry crash that occurred in the early 80s, the system actually had games being produced into the 1990s, or rather into 1990, I should say. And you look, one of the things that it did was it demonstrated the gap between the Atari 2600 and a more capable machine. You had games that looked closer to their arcade counterparts than the 2600 could muster, even if they were, to be honest, they were a little janky, right? They were a little, okay, let's see here. Punch the bottles from the Sea Hag. See, the thing is with Popeye, which was popular when I was a kid, most kids today wouldn't know, really who Popeye is, who the Sea Hag is, who Olive Oil is, who Bluto is. Oh, and he went ahead and got me there again. And again, this is not the doesn't look like the arcade. It is a close approximation, right, of the arcade. Is he going to reach down or jump down? Let's see. Bluto should do that. And there's the spinach on the other side. Now he may try to jump up to hit me. What you need to do is get down these stairs and grab the heart before it falls into the water there. So they're descending at different rates there too. Okay. Come on up. And I missed. And I got hit there. All right, at least let me go ahead and try to clear one of these boards. Let's grab the spinach. And yeah, that went ahead and knocked Bluto out. Come on, why isn't the heart going? Let's go. Okay, there we go. Now, what you'll notice is the house in the upper left corner of the screen there is Olive Oil is blowing kisses and sending her love down in these hearts that you have to collect. You can see where they're filling up, right? Now that Sea Hag comes out and throws, they were beer bottles, they weren't like spinach bottles or anything like that. But this was, again, close to, it didn't look exactly like the arcade, but it played close enough that if you kind of squinted and used your imagination, it felt like you were playing the arcade game. And this is what we had available to us, right? We didn't have systems that could fully replicate the big, expensive hardware. The ladder in the middle, too, it's interesting. You can't climb up it. You can only climb down it, right? So it's kind of a quick escape. but also traps you a little bit, right? Okay, let me head down here. I didn't mean to go down that side. Punch him. Grab these. Yeah, the sea hag there is much more difficult than I remember. Oh, here we go. Just one more. Oh, no. Let's see. Let's go ahead and stop. And what are we going to get here? And there we go. We played the little Popeye theme. So, yay. Thank you. Now, in this level, you're capturing notes. So, they break it up a little bit by having different level layouts, different objects that you are collecting, all that kind of good stuff, right? But also, you can see how grating that audio could be if you just let this thing run on repeat, right? But that was Popeye on the Intellivision. Yes, really, really cool. Oh, one of the cool mechanics here that this had too was go ahead and jump on the springboard and it will just pop you up to the top. But the springboard wasn't animated on the Intellivision version. It was in the arcade because, that was all they could do with the system. And there you go. That is Popeye on the Intellivision. Let's go ahead and keep that arcade love going. And we're going to go ahead and jump into another super popular game of the era, and one that was really difficult to bring to a lot of these older anemic systems, and that was Q*bert. Parker Brothers, by the way, right, traditionally known as a board game company, they were really prolific in this era in developing video games. So they brought a lot of arcade conversions home. Look how good this one looks. It's all right, so let's see. Oh, no. Oh, okay. I'm going to angle my controller here. Okay, what are you doing, dummy? All right, here we go. Let's try it again. And wait, where is it? There we go. Oh, for some reason I couldn't move. There we go. All right. So now we've got this going. You've got the spinning wheels there, like the color wheels. Those looked awesome. This one plays really, really well. And that's Coily, by the way, the snake. And we didn't even need to use the discs, right? Isn't that right? We went ahead and just were able to... Okay, here we go. Let's see. And I don't recall if it had all of the enemies in there, but I mean, this again was a really serviceable version of Q*bert, right? One that actually worked really, really well. Let's see. How do I restart? Well, we're not going to restart. We're just going to go on to another game. So that was Q*bert on the Intellivision. And let's keep, like I said, let's keep the arcade stuff going here. Let's take a look at Pole Position. This is one of the games that was released much later into the life of the Intellivision. This was at a time when a company emerged called Intev, which after, they had, Mattel had kind of stopped building the Intellivision and kind of, putting money and research and development into it. A former Mattel vice president went ahead and basically stood up this company, I believe it was. I think it was in 1980s, probably like 84 or 85, I believe. It may have actually been in 84 that they did this. Anyway, so we had a whole slew of games that came out later in the console's life or the library's life that were actually pretty good, right? So here we go. Okay, and do I need... Oh, I may need to shift with this first, right? No, let me see. Oh, no. Okay, so it's pressing up on the controllers. Now, the thing about Intellivision, if you go and you take a look at the system online, and I mentioned the controllers that had a keypad on it. It also didn't have a joystick. It had a disc, and it was a little disc that you would go ahead and press on. And the idea was that it allowed for more analog-like control than a joystick did. And I believe it could do 16 or even like 32 positions or something like that. The disc itself was also a button. So you had two buttons on either side of the controller. Then you had your control itself, which was a disc, or which was a button, kind of like your L3 and R3 buttons on a modern controller. And then you had the keypads. You had all this elaborate controls for games that really weren't that elaborate, could really leverage or utilize all of those buttons, right? They weren't that complex back then. But they tried. And in fact, the very first kind of world builder or RTS type of game was a game called Utopia on the Intellivision. And it was created by the brilliant Don Daglow, right? So a little bit of applause and cheers for Mr. Don Daglow. And it was a game that I'd purchased when I was a kid. And unfortunately, it was just so complex that I just kind of gave up on it, right? But it is important because it was a game that really leaned into this whole world-building notion. It was the first time we saw something this complex in that era, and it happened on the Intellivision, which is pretty cool. All right, let's go to some of the more popular games, more popular arcade games, and let's take a look at Donkey Kong. Now, what I found with these games is I actually, even though they didn't have as many colors or whatnot, I preferred the Atari 2600 version to this. And I think one of the things that got me was the running sound of Jumpman, right, in this game. And it was also, I just had a very weird sort of movement to it. Not as fluid, actually, as the 2600, which surprised me. You'll see, you'll see that when Jumpman is in the air, the arc that he jumps in is a bit wobbly. But what is also really cool, if you take a look at the way the character contacts the ground, right, or objects. One of the things the Intellivision could do that I don't believe the Atari could is it could do per pixel collision, which meant that you could create games that had very precise collision on the sprites, which I believe it could do 8 sprites per line at a double height, or it could do 16 at like a half height. I believe that's the way it worked. Somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, or I'll just correct myself. But what that meant is that you could do these very precise sort of checks against all of the objects in the game. But it also just meant that you had some quirky warbling, if that's the right word for this. I also think, Donkey Kong is green in the Intellivision version of the game, which, okay, I guess, like, that's the color palette that they had. But here we go. But we do get the music at the end there. So you can see a little more advanced than the Atari 2600, but it also goes to show that just because it may be more graphically complex or have more, better audio or what have you, doesn't necessarily translate into the better game, right? Gameplay is still the paramount thing here, and I just think that it plays a little better on the Atari 2600. And they both only have 2 screens, right? They have the first screen here, and then they have the girder screen, or the girder screen, and then that's it. So that was Donkey Kong. All right, now we're going to go over to Donkey Kong's son, Donkey Kong Jr., and take a look at this game. But I do love that you get the music. There's Mr. Daglow. Oh, he was just right above me right there. He's talking all about his, they're talking all about building the Intellivision. This was on the Icons program for G4 TV, which was really, really cool. Let me see. Let's make sure that I have this. Yeah, that's working fine. And the window animation is working fine. Okay, yeah, we're good. All right, Donkey Kong Jr., let's go, yo. Here we go. 1 player, level 1. Get ready, player 1. The gentleman that's pictured above me right now That was Keith Robinson. He, one of the original Intellivision guys, and he was one that really kept Intellivision alive long after they stopped making consoles, right? He had acquired the rights to Intellivision games and to all of the materials. He had restarted the Blue Sky Rangers, which was the external technology and engineering group that Mattel originally started working with, that included Don Daglow. I believe there were 5 members of the Blue Sky Rangers. And these were the folks that were creating the Intellivision, creating the games that were going to go take on Atari and just build more complex and better looking games than what we had on the Atari 2600. There's Junior jumping. Oh, come on. Okay, that per pixel collision, that was pretty bad right there. Let's see. Oh, that's starting the music over. That was really weird. So yeah, let's see. Here we go. Come on. 1. Oh. Don't want to get bitten by that chomper. Oh, no. See, what you can do is you can fall off the vines in Donkey Kong Jr. Also, look at that wonky jump right there that Junior has. Come on. Yeah, collision on this was really tough. All right, so the reason that he's sticking his arms out to the side, right, is in this game, if you're holding 2 vines, as Junior's doing right now, you can move quickly up and down. But you descend or ascend slowly. If you are holding only 1 vine, you ascend slowly, but you descend quickly, right? So, and actually, yeah, let me take that back. On the... Okay, get up there. All right. And you get the music too, which is pretty awesome. All right, let's see. All right, well, that's Donkey Kong. Oh, listen, we gotta clear this level at least. All right, so what I meant to say was, if you're holding 1 vine, you ascend or descend quickly, but you ascend slowly. If you're holding 2 vines, you ascend quickly, but descend slowly. So you go ahead and use those different techniques to go ahead and clear the board there. We got our birds coming down here. More characters, more objects on screen than we had with on the Atari 2600 version. For sure. Oh, here we go. What was really nice about, putting this, getting ready to do this show today was the number of people that I had at work saying, oh, what fond memories they had of the Intellivision when they were kids and how their dad had it. And, it was something that other kids in the neighborhood didn't have, and really cool. And that's the one thing about this show, right? This is not it's not about modern technology. It is about the joy that we feel by playing, right? And going back and looking at the games that we played when we were kids and sharing those with our own kids, right? And with new generations of game players. And there's still lessons that we learned from game development back in the day that we're still applying today. And I always say it, graphics don't make the game, right? If it is a good game, is a good game, right? And it will just stand the test of time, right? And these games were good games. Okay. All right, so that is Donkey Kong Jr. Now let's go ahead and jump over to another famous arcade game, and I believe this one is also done by Parker Brothers, and that would be Frogger. Parker Brothers presents Frogger by Sega, right? Well before Sega really jumped in competing, right, in the cartridge game console space. So, all right, we'll go ahead and do 1 player, level 1. And we have all the music that we expect. Some pretty wonky animation, but again, this looked like Frogger. And you had it at home. You didn't have to go to the arcade. Oh, no. Woof. Okay, almost lost it out of the screen there. You got the timer there at the bottom. Oh, and it flashed the time right there in the middle. You have the flies up top. You have the female frog that you need to rescue if you are so bold as to do so. You have the flies at the top there as well. I believe we'll have an alligator. Oh, pop in. And of course, I went on the diving shell there, and that's why I died going through there. But it is Frogger. My cleft chin is really distracting. That's the source of my old school gaming powers. Don't question the power of the cleft, which, by the way, the best looking Hollywood stars all have that cleft chin, right? But that's, we have behind the mic too. If it's too distracting for you, we have a cleft chin graphic we could put over there. How about that? And there we go. Then that is Frogger on the Intellivision. There we go. Little air horn and some cheers popping up there. All right. Let's see. Another. Let's see. What are the other big? Ladybug. Ladybug was a game that was created by Universal. This was really we first experienced the best version of this outside of the arcade when it came to the ColecoVision, which was great, right? And I think, okay, we may have to enter here, right? So you have to enter this in and then enter again. All right, so this leaned right into the kind of the maze craze of games. Super colorful games. All right, so how this works is the green border on the outside is the timer. As soon as all of the white spots turn green, it'll start releasing enemies out into the playfield. And so what you want to do is you can move around the playfield here, and you can rotate the yellow doors to block enemies. So there's no invincibility, right, for your character. And if you can spell extra when the letters turn yellow, you'll be able to get an extra life, right, that you continue playing with. So you want to try to go ahead and grab them when the color is right. And so the fact that you don't have any invincibility, sometimes, you'll accidentally open a door that you didn't want to open. Makes this not just a straight up maze runner, but there's some strategy that goes into how you are playing the game, right? But super colorful, it's got really good audio. It's got basically all the levels that you had in the arcade, and great game. Really a lot of fun to play. And if you happen to go ahead and find it in an arcade or find it in an arcade collection that you may have access to, definitely go ahead and give Ladybug a try. It's a great game to play, very challenging too. Especially after you get past like the first like level or two, it just becomes really ridiculous. So Super Skirble says Ladybug was a great twist on the maze chase genre. I agree, absolutely agree. And other games that did well with that too are like Lock and Chase, which is also on this, Mousetrap, which is also on the Intellivision as well. Were again really good twists on it. Amadar was another really good one. Also big nod to Mousetrap. Really a fun game. One of the crazier, it wasn't really a maze game, but it was kind of maze-ish, was Blueprint. If you remember that game, and that game was just frustrating as hell to play, just because of the way you would get. Oh, and I got slammed there too. One of the things. So let me finish the Blueprint thing. Yeah, especially when you would be so far down the line in terms of getting a blueprint finished, just to have that monster coming out and steal parts and take it away, like, it was just too damn distracting. There was also Dodge 'em, if you remember that, on the Atari 2600. A lot of game consoles actually had a very similar sort of game that was just these kind of concentric racetracks, and you had to collect all of the dots on the different courses while the enemies were changing lanes and all that stuff to come and get you. Anyway, so this is Mousetrap. We have a lot more games to go through and only about 20 minutes to do so. So I'm going to jump off here and let's go ahead and fire up another one. Hey, Super Skirple, whatever happened to Universal? That's a good question. I think really after the early 80s era, they just kind of, it just wasn't something that they were focused on anymore. They had created games like Mr. Do, which I believe it was Mr. Do's Castle, Mr. Do's Wild Ride, those sorts of games that that they'd created that, were great, but I think that just era passed them by. But that's a good question. I'm going to go back and research that. Super Skirple, what was one of the games that you enjoyed playing as a kid? And if I have it, I'll go ahead and fire that up. Let's go and see. Let's see. Do we have a Pac-Man in here? Let's see. We probably do. Speaking of maze, let's go ahead and look at Pac-Man by Atari Soft, 1983. And yeah, let's see. Here we go. We have all the audio for it. I mean, a little bit like the arcade, right? Layout there. So it's mimicking. I'll tell you what, it was a whole lot closer than the Atari 2600 was, that's for sure, right? But you have the ghost sounds. You have all the dot munching sounds. There's some good logic behind the ghosts, the way they move. Pac-Man smoothly animated. We talked about before about the pixel precision collision detection meant that you could do these types of games that let you kind of skirt through them there. We haven't played Burger Time yet. That one is going to be coming up, and of course I'm looking at the soundboard instead of looking at the playfield here. So let's go ahead and see. All right, the ghosts turn blue just as they should. And they'll enter out of the playfield, and you got the eyes that go back, just like you'd expect. Yeah, really good, serviceable version of Pac-Man. And for the era, I mean, imagine, again, being in this era, and as a kid, this is the game you got to bring home? That's freaking awesome. This, I could even see, like, as a little kid, you'd be like, oh, yeah, this is the arcade, right? Because this is as close as we could possibly get to it. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and grab two more. Let's at least clear the board. Let's do that, right? Let's see. Can we do it? Can we get Pac-Man to clear the board? Let's see. And there we go. We did it. Yay! There was a little bit of Pac-Man. But Super Skirple. Yeah, we just played Popeye. That was a great one, too. When I say great, the gameplay was great. I'm very fond of it and really remember it. But, that one was a bit tougher to stomach on the Intellivision and the Atari. But, oh, no, I didn't want to go ahead and restart that. Let's go ahead and get into some Burger Time. Oh, burger sounds really good right about now. I don't think I've actually eaten all day today. Today has been an absolutely crazy-ass day. All right. Burger Time with Peter Pepper. And we're going to go and take a look at Diner. Diner was a spiritual sequel to Burger Time, and we'll show you what that looks like. But look at how awesome this one looks. All right, so we're going to select one player, and then we select Enter. That music, so good. Went really fast, too. So, yeah, so the object of Burger Time, we've played it before here, I'm sure, is to build hamburgers. And build hamburgers by running over the pieces of them, and they drop down to layers at the bottom and assemble at the bottom there. Now, if you can get enemies on top of the piece that you're dropping, their additional weight will make them drop down additional levels, right? Which is really what you want to go ahead and do. There's an extra pepper. I've got 4 peppers, which means I could go ahead and sprinkle them with pepper 4 times, and that acts as kind of like an invincibility, right? Or it pauses them, so you can basically walk through and get away from them, basically, is what that does. All right, let's see if I can't coax them up here. Oh, see, this guy. Oh, see? Terrible. All right, let's get him on there. See, but this is what was really cool about the Intellivision. You notice I can get really close to the enemy without getting killed because of that pixel precision collision detection that the Intellivision could do that the other consoles couldn't, right? Burger time. Oh, so good. So good. All right, we're going to have to at least clear this level, right? There we go. And then he's going to do his little dance. Put his hands up and down there. Fantastic. Burger time. All right, let's go take a look at Diner. So thank you for reminding me of that Super Skirple, right? So Diner. Let's see, where is it? All right, here we go. So this was laid, as you can see, in this isometric sort of level. And what you have to do is you have to knock the condiments down into the bottom of the playfield there and assemble, I think, salads or something, right? So let's see. Let me see. Okay, we did player 1. And player 1, 3. Okay, here we go. Listen to that music too. I remember that music when it came out too. Okay, so you see that the lettuce that you're rolling down there rolls into the enemies. So, yo. All right, I hit him. Let's hit him with the lettuce. No, I just got hit by... I got hit by that hot dog. All right, here we go. All right. So if I kick this lettuce ball here, there, we're going to crush a couple of hot doggos. Oh, see, but I missed kicking it to the right. So I almost bit it there. You also don't want to get trapped down there in the corner. Because if you do, you can't get out. You're pretty much at a dead end there. All right, let's see. Oh, no! Man, see, this actually does have some perspective. It's not... I was walking behind it, so I thought I kicked it, but I didn't. Let's see. Can we do that? All right, good. We got him. At least let's get a couple of these down here to the bottom. So you can see we're assembling a salad down there. So maybe it's a little statement on healthier eating than Burger Time did. And that's why this is not Burger Time. This is Diner. And this is Peter Pepper. Still, it's Peter Pepper. According to the internet, this game was released in 1987. Is that right? I don't recall exactly when it was released. But I do know this was one of the later releases because I believe this is the Intev release, right? Okay, there we go. And he does his Peter Pepper dance. So you can see a little bit different than Burger Time, right? And it has a lot of strategy to it. You have to be able to kick the lettuce to the left or right, depending where your enemies are. So, you know, this one is kind of like a mashup between, Burger Time and then Crystal Castles and Marble Madness, that type of stuff, right? Right, so we have these guys down this channel. There we go. That's how you do that. Oh, almost. Okay, but and he became alive. That was Diner. Really, really good. All right, I'm going to share a couple of others with you that when I'd gotten them as a kid, I was like, oh, these things look amazing, right? So one of them was Motocross. So let's go ahead and check that out. Motocross 1982 by Mattel Electronics here. I'm going to grab a little sip of tea. I have been under the weather, so still recovering from that. So, all right, here we go. These standard courses. So, here we go. Now, check this out. I love this. And that's the course we're going to play. And how many laps do we want? Let's do 2 laps. And there we go. We could do, let's just go ahead and do 1 player. And you have directional steering. So whichever way you move, the pad will steer you. Or you could just use left or right. I think I preferred left to right steering. So let me go ahead and select that. Reverse, no. So that's the way they extended the life of the game, right? Okay, let's see. Yeah. So they extended the life of the game by allowing you to reverse courses, right? Oh, look at that jump. Ooh. Falling over there. Okay. Actually, I should have used directional, because now what you have to do is you have to constantly shift your perspective of where you're steering. So it's kind of like controlling a real RC car or a drone. And so at any moment, your controls can be flipped. Okay, and I want to move back. Oh, there we go. Look at that. And I don't think, yeah. But again, this, I was like, oh my goodness, look at this thing. It's like it's almost 3D, and I'm jumping over these things. Those are some sweet jumps, my man. Oh, but I suck at it, and we have a lot more to get through. So that was motocross, and I believe, I want to say you could create your own levels, maybe? I'm not sure about that one, but yeah, that was one of those games, though, when you played it, you were like, oh my goodness, this thing is just so different than anything else that I'm playing on there. Now, one of the things that Intellivision was known for were its sports games, right? So I should probably at least just show one, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at a little quick one here. Let's look at some basketball. Oh, shoot, I've got so many others that I forgot we need to dig into. You know what? I'm not going to show you. You go look at the sports games online. I'm not a big sports game player, but I am a huge arcade nerd, right? So let's go ahead and look at Dig Dug on this. Looks just like the arcade. Of course, you're not getting all the same levels and those things, right? But you're getting all the playability of it. Puts a little scores. I always thought that was cool, too, that the system was capable enough to put the scores on the screen. Okay, we're going to blow up that Figar, and we'll go ahead and grab those carrots and grab that puka, and there you go. Yeah, it is impressive, right? It is impressive. I don't know if my sweet jumps were impressive or Dig Dug was impressive. I think you probably mean Dig Dug, and I concur. Dig Dug is pretty impressive for the Intellivision. All right, so that is Dig Dug on the Intellivision. Let's go ahead and see what else we have in here that we need to go ahead and take a look at. Some great games by Magic. One of the best, of course, is Demon Attack. And what I love about this version, right? On the Atari 2600, it was just this black void that you were on. But you took this you took this you took this leap forward in terms of technology, and now you're able to really frame more accurately the story. So you know you're not on Earth, you know that you're on the moon, right? And so I actually used this when we were building the Art of Video Games exhibition. I actually used this as an example of how art, right, and the advancement of technology allowed you to move further away from abstract notions to more direct or literal notions of things. And this is the one that I used, right? It was great on the right. It was great, but look at those backgrounds. So I still think that the enemies on the Atari version looked better, but for sure, look where we are here, right? Space, on the moon, defending Earth from these nasty demons. Oh, fantastic. So that was Demon Attack on the Intellivision. Pretty fun, a really fun game. Not a pretty fun game. It is a really fun game to go ahead and play. We also had, again, another popular arcade game, right? Defender by Atari. And here we go. And it basically this one looks even closer, right, to the... Oh, look at that explosion. Even closer to the arcade than the Atari 2600 did. You have that full map up there. Let's see if I can grab him. This is the toughest part of it was... All right, I grabbed the falling human and made sure they didn't die. One of the problems, though, with Defender on a lot of the home consoles during the time was that it really required very sharp and precise movements, and you can see this is a little bit jerky, right? And so a little bit harder to control, but it's there. It's Defender, and it's on your television, and it's in your home, and so you're awesome as a kid, right? Having that at home. All right, let's see. What's a couple of other ones we can do? Dragonfire, another really fun, if not frustrating game by Magic. Let's see. We think we should be able to just start. There we go. And we've got, let's see, how many players do we have here? We have, okay, come on. Let's see, why can't I select those? Let's see. Oh, there we go, players 1. And we're going to do level 1, I think. There we go. Okay. Shoot, man, he wasn't wasting any time. Okay. You have to dodge the fireballs and get over to the other side, collect all the treasures, and get out of the door before getting hit by the dragon's fireballs. And there's the other door. Oh, my gosh. And get out of the other door. Great. And now you start it all over again. And this is the whole game. Is just moving across that drawbridge, not getting hit by arrows, not getting hit by the fireballs, and then making your way out of the dragon's dungeon. And there we go again. Oh, when I say frustrated, now you know why. So I ran back into the castle to avoid. Man, really super difficult game. But yeah, so that was Dragonfire. Get another really fun game. But the ones I really need to show real quickly before we get out of here for the weekend, right? Now that hopefully we're feeling a little more intelligent after playing some Intellivision. Yeah, the world record attempt on Dragonfire would be sweet. So there were a couple that were just freaky, right? Well, I should say a couple. There was one that was freaky. This one, Microsurgeon, my goodness. So if you think about, movies where you get shrunk down and dropped inside of a human body, that's basically what Microsurgeon was. And you had to go ahead and traverse this environment. I think this really requires the keypad. It does really require the keypad to go ahead and get this done. But you made your way through the entire body of the patient you were trying to help. Gross, right? So we won't belabor that one, but go look it up. Go watch a playthrough online of Microsurgeon. I'm going through these really quickly because, like I said, we have a few more I want to get to before we get out. It's already 4 o'clock. My goodness gracious. Okay. Let me just show you one more because this was at the time when this movie was taking over the earth. And this is Tron and Tron Deadly Discs. And so here you are Tron. Now, oh, you know what I realized? This is also going to require the keypad. Yeah. So you would use the keypad to fire in the direction that you wanted to. So when you didn't have, I'm not going to be able to play this game on a standard controller. When you didn't have 2 joysticks, what you would do is you would use the control pad to move. Then, I'm sorry, I just saw this super skirple. Microsurgeon Slim Goodbody. Yes, the 70s and 80s were wild. If you don't know who Slim Goodbody is, go ahead and watch it at your peril. But anyway, so when you didn't have 2 joysticks like we do on a modern controller today, you had the keypad that you could use as the controller. And then you can use the disc underneath it as a controller. But you can imagine, your hands being positioned like this, one over the other, instead of side by side, made it really difficult to go ahead and play some of these games. But they had a slew of games in here that were based around Tron and Tron lore, including Deadly Discs, Mazatron, Solar Sailor, right? A couple of others. Actually, no, those were the ones, right? Really, really cool. And then one more that I'll show you. Actually, 2 more I'm going to do because I know I'm over time, but what the hell? Let's go ahead and do it. This one, Venture. I loved playing Venture. This also reminded me of a game on the Commodore VIC-20 called Seamus. Seamus wasn't Samus. It was Seamus for sure. And, loved that game so much. And you'll see what type of game it is here in a moment. And all right, so here we go. Venture is about venturing into these different rooms to collect treasures. And the little arrow on the side of your head shows you the direction that you're going to fire. But here's the thing, is that the enemies that you hit, you can't touch their corpse because you'll die. You don't want to run into enemies in the corridor there either. Okay, and you want to avoid getting crushed here. And then, oh, and I got crushed there. And so you have to collect all the treasures, take out all the question marks there. So let's see if we can get into here. Okay, this one, much faster moving enemies. And they'll block your way. Let me see. Ah, look at that. That pixel precision that I talked about. Let me skirt right past him without getting killed. So there we go. Let's see. Here we go. Come on. Get over here. Oh, shoot. That's right. The snakes. Oh, see, look. I just touched that little tiny pixel. That's what killed me. Now, the other games I talked about that I would love to have been able to play through, but they're just too difficult. They could be full episodes, multi-hours by themselves, are the Dungeons and Dragons games. I think it was Cloudy Mountain was one of them, but really good adventure game and really complex for its time. And I remember a buddy of mine who had the Intellivision, we would play that game for hours, and you could go up and down different levels by going up and down ladders and stuff. It was really, really cool. And look, I left the room and got killed right there. Let's go ahead and just at least clear this last level. Then we'll take a look at the last arcade game. Then we'll go ahead and get out of here. And I may revisit more of the Intellivision catalog because there's a bunch of stuff that I didn't really get to talk about. And I'd like to do a deeper dive on the hardware and the whole history of it too. Like I said, I'm just coming back in from being out of the office and getting over being sick. So I didn't have as much time to prepare the piece that I wanted to talk about today as I normally do. But you get a taste of the Intellivision here. All right, the last game that I want to show you is the mighty Zaxxon from Sega. And here we go. And what I wanted to show you is look at the way this game is positioned, right? Zaxxon was an isometric, game. So it kind of is like a pseudo 3D. This one kind of puts you straight on, right, head on instead of on that angle there. You can see how choppy it is. So there were some games that just could not make the jump, right, to these earlier systems at home. Some did. Some looked good, like Pac-Man. This one, unfortunately, didn't quite do it for me. But I just wanted to show you kind of an example of that. Actually, let me see if there's one more here that I have in my catalog that we can go ahead and take a look at here. Tutankhamun was another good one. Man, so many good games. Triple Action, Tower of Doom. Tennis was a really fun game as well and played really, really well. Let's see. You know what? Let's take a look at this one. Let's take a look at Shark because this is and Intellivision was halted. Let's go ahead and try this one. There we go. Shark by Mattel. So you've seen this game before because we played it a bunch of different ways. So here you are as this little fish, and what you need to do is eat fish that are your size and start evolving and growing till eventually you're big enough that you can go ahead and eat the shark. So you not only have to avoid all the different enemies and avoid the fish that may be bigger than you. You want to be careful about running into those. You don't want to get trapped in those those water plumes that were going up there, or that vented water. Come on, let's see. Let's grab one. I think I'll probably get one more, and then my fish will evolve. The blues, I'm too small to grab. There's that yellow. Let's see. Damn. See, the other fish are eating them too. Come on, don't do that. Leave them alone. Get out of my way. Come on. Shark. Let's see. Here we go. One. Come on. There you go. So now you can see that I've evolved. So now I can start eating bigger fish and I'll evolve faster. but you still have to avoid the bigger ones there. And so again, you have played this game on iOS, you've played it on other systems, right? Not Shark specifically, but this is one of the earliest versions of that type of grow and evolve game. And it's one of those games that you can always return to. The graphics don't really matter as much, so long as it can convey your size and what you're doing. It's just a fun, sometimes tense game that you could play. So, yeah, on the Intellivision. So, pretty good. Let's see. Can I move off there? No, you can't. No, you can't go off the side there. Yeah, so that's it. This is a sampling of the Intellivision. And what I may do is, maybe we'll do is we'll come back and we'll revisit some of these games. And I'll see if I can't get on my friend, Don Daglow. So I'm saying this out publicly now. See if I can't get Don to join the stream and talk to us about the Intellivision, what it was like back in that era, what it was like to go ahead and take on Atari and, take Mattel basically into an area of games and technology that they really hadn't leaned into before. So anyway, so that is really going to wrap up our time with the Intellivision today. I hope you enjoyed seeing some of what of the Intellivision systems of that era looked like. And so, yeah, once again, that brings us to the end of our episode. So remember, folks, if you are a video game developer of any size, from AAA to indies, make sure you head on over to aws.amazon.com/game tech to discover the products, solutions, and services that we offer to help you on your cloud game development journey. And if you are a beginner looking for a clear starting point to help you build a career or learn to produce games in the AWS cloud, we recommend you start with an AWS Learning Plan. This set of on-demand courses will increase your knowledge of game servers and game analytics and help grow your technical skills to solve real-world game development, compute, and analytics problems. And you can demonstrate your knowledge to the world by earning digital badges. Head on over to aws.training/GameTech to start your AWS for Games learning plan today. And of course, I want to give a huge shout out to Waterflame for allowing us to use his music here on Rewind. Make sure you head on over to his YouTube channel at Waterflame Music to check out his incredible work. And of course, if you care about preserving the history of video games as much as I do, make sure you head on over to the Video Game History Foundation's website at gamehistory.org. They're doing incredible work to preserve the history of our industry for future generations. I want to thank you for spending your Friday afternoon with me. Have a wonderful rest of your day and awesome weekend. And we'll see you next week on Rewind.